Have you ever wondered if someone might be quietly watching you inside your own house? No knocks, no sound, just there? I never thought something like that could happen to me, but that summer vacation turned out to be way stranger than I ever imagined. I'm Jake, 12 years old, spending my summer break at my grandma's old suburban house. It sat in a quiet neighborhood where the only sound at night was the crickets outside. The house had this old white fence out front, and inside, everything looked frozen in time. Dusty portraits on the walls, that faint musty smell, creaky floors, it all felt weirdly nostalgic. My grandma, Mrs. Thompson, was sweet but kind of strict. Always neat, always calm, and she had this habit. Every night at exactly 9, she'd wind up the big clock in the hallway. I thought it was just one of her old lady routines, but to her, it was more like a ritual. She always said, "Jake, don't make too much noise at night. This house carries sound far." I used to laugh it off, but still something felt off. Every night, lying in bed, I couldn't shake the feeling that someone else was in the house, watching. At first, I blamed my imagination, but that uneasy feeling never went away. Our nights were simple. After dinner, we'd sit in the living room, the old rocking chair creaking in rhythm while Grandma told stories. Sometimes they were about her childhood, sometimes about my late grandpa, and sometimes just small-town tales she probably made up. The old grandfather clock kept ticking through it all, loud, steady, like every second was heavier than the last. After the stories, she'd walk me to my room, say goodnight softly, and I'd hide under the blanket till I fell asleep. But one night felt different. Just as I was about to drift off, the ticking of the clock suddenly stopped. The house went dead quiet for a second. Then came this soft scraping sound, like someone slowly dragging their feet across the wooden floor. I figured maybe a cat snuck in, but Grandma didn't have one. And all the furniture was exactly where it always was. I told myself it was nothing, just my brain playing tricks, but deep down, something in that silence stuck to me, heavy and cold. The next night felt normal again, the same ticking, the faint smell of old wood, the occasional creak. I was lying there, staring at the ceiling, when I heard it again. Those slow footsteps, this time clearer, barefoot, soft, crossing the hallway. My heart started pounding, but I told myself to chill. Maybe Grandma was up. Except when I looked, her door was shut, and no light was coming from underneath it. Then, out of the corner of my eye, I saw something. A shadow, quick, sliding past the doorframe. It was real, too real. I squeezed my eyes shut and pretended I didn't see it. My chest was thumping so loud I could feel it in my throat. The next morning, I told Grandma what I saw. She didn't freak out. She just said, calm as ever, "If you see something, ignore it, Jake. Sometimes your eyes make up what isn't there." But the way she said it, it was like she already knew what I was talking about. That's when it hit me. Maybe this thing wasn't just in my head. That night, the moonlight was brighter than usual, washing the whole room in this pale blue glow. The curtains moved just slightly, though there was no breeze. I looked out the window, and for a split second, I swear I saw someone standing in the garden. A figure, still silent. I rubbed my eyes and looked again. Nothing, just the shadows of trees. When I turned back toward the room, it felt like that shadow had followed me inside. In the window reflection, through the moonlight, I could see a faint shape moving, down the hall, toward Grandma's room. My stomach dropped. Somehow, I forced myself out of bed, each step making the floor groan. Grandma's door was cracked open. The room was dark. She was asleep, peaceful, still, like nothing had happened. But I knew what I'd seen. That shadow had gone this way. A cold chill ran through me so hard it made my hands shake. Was I actually seeing something, or was my mind screwing with me? Over the next few nights, things got worse. The footsteps weren't faint anymore. They were clear, slow, like someone walking the whole length of the hallway, stopping just outside my door. Sometimes it sounded like they came right up beside my bed. I'd hold my breath, eyes shut tight, frozen. When I finally looked, the hallway was always empty. But the air, it felt wrong. Heavy, cold. I started to question myself. Maybe I was losing it. Maybe I wasn't sleeping right. But every night, it happened again. When I told Grandma, she just whispered, "Ignore it, Jake." The house is old. Same tone, same calm voice, but now it felt rehearsed, like she'd said that line before. Then one night, it all hit the peak. I was half asleep when I felt it, something in the room. I opened my eyes just a little, and there it was, a dark figure standing dead center in my room. No sound, no movement, just staring. I shut my eyes again, heart racing, one single thought looping in my head. Is this house my home, or is it something else's? By morning, everything was back to normal. The clock ticked again, sunlight spilled through the curtains, and Grandma was making breakfast like nothing ever happened. I almost convinced myself I'd dreamed the whole thing. The smell of toast, the clinking of plates, it all felt safe again. But something about the quiet didn't sit right. Every time I walked past that old clock, the ticking reminded me that the night never really ends. It just hides. The shadow never came back. Or maybe I just stopped seeing it. Still, every night when I lay in bed, I couldn't shake the sense that something was still watching, silent, patient. Sometimes I tell myself it was just my imagination. But when the clock hits midnight, and the house goes still for a moment, I swear I hear footsteps again, walking down that same hallway. Have you ever seen a doll that just stands there, staring at you, without blinking? I never thought a simple shopping trip could turn into something this creepy. I'm Liam, 10 years old. I love adventure, but yeah, I get impatient pretty easily. My weekends usually go into video games and cartoons, but this time, my mom, Mrs. Carter, decided we'd do something different. She said, "Liam, you need to feel history, not just see it." So she dragged me to this old antique shop. I figured it'd be boring, but the second we walked in, the place had this weird vibe. The air smelled dusty and old. Wooden shelves lined the walls, and a faint ticking clock echoed from somewhere. Every shelf had something strange and kinda cool. Porcelain dolls, rusted keys, faded photo frames. Mom stopped by a glass cabinet and smiled. "Look, Liam," she said, "these things carry their own stories." I rolled my eyes, but honestly, something about it got me curious. I wandered off to a corner and saw this small porcelain doll sitting there. Her dress was torn, and her eyes, those glassy, cold eyes, looked like they were staring straight at me. I reached out to touch her, and this chill ran through my fingers. Mom just said, "Isn't she cute?" She had no clue that doll would turn our weekend from normal to terrifying. We walked down those narrow aisles, filled with cracked teapots, rusty clocks, and paintings so faded you could barely tell what they were. The whole place smelled like old books and time that never moved on. Mom smiled and said, "See, Liam? Old things have their own kind of beauty." I followed her, but then my eyes caught something hanging in the corner, a porcelain doll suspended by a string. Her Victorian-style dress was faded and stained, her face cracked, and her eyes, those eyes were lifeless but weirdly intense, like she was watching us. I froze for a second, thought maybe it was just the lighting, but when I took one step to the left, her eyes seemed to shift too, like she was following me. Mom called out, "Come on, Liam, over here." But I couldn't stop looking. Even as I turned to leave, her gaze felt locked on me. When we got closer to the doll, a cool breeze brushed against my cheek, but I swear, there was no fan, no open window. The wooden floor creaked under our feet, and a few glass bottles on the shelves rattled slightly, like something invisible had passed by. Mom was busy checking out an old picture frame, but my focus stayed glued to that doll. I muttered, "Mom, this doll feels weird." She smiled without looking at me and said, "Relax, Liam. You've got quite the imagination." Her voice was calm, but there was a little hesitation, like she felt it too, but didn't want to admit it. I looked back at the doll. Her clothes moved just a bit, like from a breeze that wasn't there. Those glass eyes were still fixed on me. I took a step back, but it honestly felt like she was tracking every move I made. A cold shiver ran up my spine. The quiet air in that shop suddenly felt heavy, like someone, or something, else was there with us. That night, lying in bed, I couldn't stop thinking about that doll. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her face, those glassy eyes staring straight into me. I remembered when we were leaving the shop. I glanced back, just for a second, and I swear, she blinked. Just once. It was quick, tiny, but real, like a living person blinking. I told myself it was just the light, a trick of my mind. But now, in the dark, with nothing but the soft ticking of the clock and the curtains barely moving, the thought of that blink made my stomach twist. Had I actually seen it? Or was my brain just messing with me? I pulled the blanket over my head, trying to block it out, but the more I tried, the clearer her eyes got in my mind. Those lifeless, unblinking eyes that somehow felt like they were still watching me from miles away. The next night, when I turned off the lights and got into bed, something felt off. The air felt thicker, heavier, like someone else was standing right in the middle of my room. My mind instantly went to that same porcelain doll. I kept my eyes shut, heart pounding. I couldn't shake the feeling that if I opened them, she'd be standing right there beside my bed, staring at me with that same blank face. After what felt like forever, curiosity got the best of me. I slowly opened my eyes. The room was empty, but the air felt wrong, still, heavy, like something invisible was right there, watching. The curtains didn't move. No breeze. No sound. But I felt it. My brain started playing tricks on me. Every shadow on the wall looked like her shape, no matter where I looked. I wrapped my blanket tighter, but that cold chill still crept up my spine. The silence wasn't peaceful anymore. It felt alive. Like the doll was still there, just barely out of sight. The next morning, I asked Mom if we could go back to that antique shop. She looked surprised. Already? We just went yesterday. But she agreed. When we got there, I stopped dead in my tracks. The shop was closed. A dusty sign on the window read, "Closed until further notice." I peered inside. Dust covered the shelves, and the spot where that doll had hung was completely empty. A cold wave hit me. "Mom, where's the doll?" I asked. She just shrugged. "Maybe the owner sold it, Liam." Her voice was casual, but my stomach felt weirdly tight. That doll's image, those cracked lips, that tilted head, those dead glass eyes, stayed stuck in my mind. And sometimes, when I'm about to fall asleep or I pass by something old, a toy, a mirror, anything, I swear I can feel that same quiet stare again. And every now and then, when I switch off the lights at night, I swear I see those same eyes watching me from the corner, just like they did in that antique shop.